Hello, this is Dan the Furniture Repairman. Today we're going to show you how to touch up damaged color on furniture. We're going to do this chair leg right here. You can see it's missing quite a bit of color. We can touch it up and save this piece, make it look nice and beautiful. It's not hard to do. You can do it. I'm going to start out. This is just denatured alcohol, and I'm wiping it on this area. And what I'm doing is I'm cleaning the leg. I'm cleaning off any old furniture polish. I'm cleaning off quite a bit of dirt. And the other thing that denature will do is it will etch the varnish a little bit. It'll soften it a little bit, make it a little stickier so that when I spray my sealer on there, I'll get a better adhesion, a better bond. So it does a lot of things. Now, if you spray your sealer on top and there's a ton of furniture polish on there, you may get fish eyes, you may get peeling, you may get alligatoring. So you want to get polish or oils out of the way. And, I kind of use it and clean inside the cracks a little bit, stuff like that. I'm going to spray it now with this sanding sealer. This is nitrocellulose from Mohawk in a rattle can. I'm going to do a very light coat. So I'm going to start the process always with what we call a spit coat or a light coat. Nice and light. And the lacquer, the sanding sealer that we use is nitrocellulose, so it chemically bonds. It actually sticks and eats into the varnish underneath it and becomes part of it. So we don't want to apply too much too fast in case there's a problem. And what we're going to use for colors, Blendal powder stains. And you can see my box of all the different colors I have. You can go to the Mohawk website and find exactly what it is you need. And usually, 7, 8, 9, 10 colors, depending on how many types of pieces of furniture you have. Now, what I do is I put a little denatured alcohol in a cup and I just mix my powder with it. But you can use shellac. You can use a lot of different products. I think there's tons of stuff you could use. I just use denatured because it's quick. It's the product I found that gets me the best results. Now, you're not going to color it in one pass. It's just never that easy to do. The wood itself has different colors in it, and then there's light and there's dark, and there's areas where there's a lot of color and not a lot of color. So what we're going to do here is just kind of fill in some of the areas that are missing, and we're not going to fill them in too heavy. We're going to let some of that color from underneath come through because that's the way the wood looks on the rest of the chair. So you have to practice, and sometimes you practice on a scrap piece or something like that, but I tend to practice right on the piece, and we're going to show you now. You can see I've added a little denatured, and I've thinned my color out a little bit on my paper plate right there, and now I'm dragging just across the whole thing, and I really do like this fan brush because it's not a solid brush. It has kind of bristles and spots, and others there's nothing, so it tends to skip areas and leave that streakiness in there that mimics wood. Now the denature's evaporated, and I'm going to spray it, and this is what it looks like. So it doesn't look like it does when it dries. It's going to look like this. So you always have to be aware that the color looks like the color it'll be when you put it on and it's wet at first. So I grab the camera, and you can see we're a little closer. We're not all the way there. The color's not perfect, but we're okay. Now what we're going to show you is when you make a mistake. Okay, so I want to add this into this video because color is the easiest thing to make a mistake on. It's the hardest thing to get right. So what I'm going to do is over saturate this on color. I'm just going to basically paint the whole leg out. And what's going to happen is it's going to look like a painted piece. You can see how much powder is on there. And when I spray it, it's going to appear way too dark, way too heavy. And you can see up at the top there, there's not a good transition from the light to the dark. So it just didn't work. And the way we reverse this is very simple. I'm just going to take my denatured alcohol again and a paper towel, and I'm going to wet it down and get it nice and saturated. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub this, even though I have sealer on there, and the sealer is dried. And you can do this days later, weeks later, and it's going to reactivate the sealer, and it's going to start pulling the color back off. And then sometimes when I back my color off, I end up stopping because I end up right at the place where I should have stopped. So it's another tool that we use in color correction. Is sometimes we just go backwards, sometimes we sand the color backwards, or sometimes we use chemicals to bring it backwards. But with this system right here, if your color is wrong, or the color is too much, or it's in the wrong place, just a little denatured on a rag, back it off, and then you're good to go. And then the denature dries very quickly. This is all real time right here. And I'm just going to come back right now, and my same colors. I've added a little to my palette, but more or less my same colors. And I'm just going to go in with a little bit lighter hand. And what that's going to do is just same thing. It's going to let a little bit of the light show through in areas, and I'm going to be just a little bit more careful not to paint the whole thing out. Um, it's a tough thing to learn to do. I would say always stop before you think you're there and spray your sealer on and let it dry, because it's always easier to add color than it is to remove it, because it's very hard to remove the exact amount of color you want, but it's very easy to add a tiny little bit of color. So now I'm going to do is just give this a quick fan, and that's going to force the denature to dry basically a lot faster than if I just wait. After that, I spray it with my sealer, and I'm going to get a good feel for where I am with my color on this piece. So over time, you're going to add 2 or 3 or 4 colors. Now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, before I put the sealer on, let me fill in a little bit more right up here at top, and let me move it around. And then sometimes when it's in a powder state, what I do is I take my fingers and I just kind of move the powders around. That'll help me kind of finger paint my way into the correct position. The key is don't stress too much about it. You know, you're looking at a chair leg that's up on a bench, and you're looking at it maybe from 8 to 12 inches away. And when you're done with the piece and you put it on the floor, anybody standing there looking at it probably isn't going to see that you've done any work to it. Even when you point it out to them you've done work to it, they'll be like, oh, I didn't even know. So if it looks good like this, then it's definitely going to look good when you put it back into the house. But what you want to do is kind of get the feel for how to do it. So a little bit more denatured, and then I'm fanning it and I'm letting it dry. And here you see I'm coming back with my fingers and I'm easing the edges of that color a little bit, so that it's a little bit softer transition where my work hits the existing work. And now I'm going to come back and I'm going to spray it, and you can see we're getting closer to where we want to be. And it's a little bit of a tough piece because there's a lot of different colors. It's darker at the bottom than it is at the top. There's hot spots, there's dark spots, there's light spots. So it makes it sometimes easier, but sometimes it makes it a little harder to match. And then right now it's very shiny because it's wet. So the shininess of the piece will control in our final coats. Add a little bit more color. I call this color correction. We have a base color, I have to correct it. And the color I'm adding in here is orange. And most often the two colors that are missing when I help people correct their color is either going to be black or orange. And orange is a scary one because it doesn't seem like it's in the piece until you put it on there. And as you can see right there, this orange, a very light coat of it, it is pulling it in and making it look more like the chair leg up top. Now, it's not making it look like the chair leg at the bottom because that's very dark, but we want to make a transition so that it goes from the top of the chair to the back and make it look like it's all belongs. Now, I'm not putting a very thick layer of orange. You can see I'm doing a very long stroke with my brush, very quick, just adding it in there, and I'm moving it around with the denatured, and I'm blending it, but it's also grabbing hold of colors underneath and blending them all in. So this is what we're looking at right here. We're going to let it dry, and then we're going to hit it with our sealer. We let it dry. I hit it with a little bit more sealer. This is my final product. I may add a little more brown in there. I can't remember. But you can see the before and after. This looks very nice. I still have to do a final coat of varnish on there, but I'm happy with the way this looks. We're going to do a number of these videos, different types of color touch-up. So this is number one, but look for more of them to come in the future. Dents, dings, all sorts of things to fill in. Thank you all so much for watching. This is Dan, the Furniture Repairman. If you have any questions or comments, put them below. I'll try to answer you. We'll also put a link where you can get the products we use so you can order them for yourself. You all have a good day.